Three African countries just did something the West hoped will never happen. They didn't protest, they didn't negotiate, they didn't ask for permission. They quietly created their own development bank. No IMF, no World Bank, no Western approvals. And if you notice how little coverage this got, that silent wasn't accidental. Because when Africa talk about independence, it's debated. But when Africa build institution, the conversation stops. Today I want to explain what this new AES development bank really is and why it matters far beyond Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and why this move represents a structural break from how Africa has been controlled financially for decades. But before we go further, if you want to hear clear, no nonsense breakdown of Africa real power shift, hit subscribe now. This channel focuses on what actually changing, not what Western media feels comfortable discussing. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, operating under the Alliance of the Sahel States, or the AES, jointly launched a regional development investment bank. This bank is designed to finance infrastructure, energy and power generation, agriculture and food security, industrial production, and strategic logistics. That why this list matters, because development banks are not just lenders. They decide which sector grows, which project get priorities, which timelines move forward. Until now, those decisions were mostly made outside of the region. This new bank changes that. It allows the AES countries to pool resources, mobilize capital internally, and fund projects without external political condition attached. That is not symbol, that is control. Why this bank is different? Some people will say Africa has had banks before. That's true. But here's the difference. Most African development banks operate under Western financial rules, require foreign cosigns, were influenced by IMF or World Bank framework. This one wasn't created with approval. It was created under pressure. After sanctions, after diplomatic isolations, after military threats, that matters. Because this bank isn't meant to integrate smoothly into the old system. It's meant to function independently of it. That psychological shift as much as a financial one. And once the mental barrier breaks, policies follow. This, if this sound different from what you heard on mainstream news, that's intentional. Subscribe, because Africa real transformation isn't loud, it's structured. Why financial control matters more than politics. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Political independence without financial control is limited sovereignty. For decades, African nations could elect leaders, but they couldn't control credit, access, development speed, or economic priorities. Whoever controls lending control development. That's why IMF loans always come with conditions. That's why infrastructure projects stalls. That's why dependency become permanent. By creating their own bank, the AES countries are saying we will decide what development look like and when. This is not ideology. They, that this is leverage, and leverage changes outcome. Why is the West downplaying this? Notice how this story is being treated. No emergency summit, no wall to wall coverage, no serious analysts. Why? Because acknowledging this bank would force Western institutions to admit three things. Africa can coordinate regionally. IMF style control is not permanent. The Sahel is no longer financially isolated. They can't call it chaos. They can't dismiss it as incompetence. So they choose silence. But institution doesn't need applause to work. They need capital, coordination, and intent. And the AES has all three. Now, what comes next? This bank is not the, fin- the final line, and it's not the finish line. It's the foundation. What follows could include regional trade financing, cross border infrastructure coordinators, energy dependence projects, coordinated industrial policies, future settlement or currency mechanism. This is how blocks are formed, not loudly, not overnight, but deliberately. History rarely announces itself when it's happening. It usually gets explained after it's already reshaped reality. If you want to follow how Africa builds power instead of asking for permission, subscribe now. Share this video because silence only projects the old system. This story isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning. Africa does not break free with speeches. It breaks free with institutions. Subscribe if you want the real story.